Good day, friends. I'm Kerry Dillinger. This is Bible Class Topics. You've joined us today for a 10-minute devotional. Just a short video to discuss a consuming society. Let's get our Bibles out and turn to 1 Timothy 6. We're going to be studying from that chapter. We're going to start in verse 6 right now. But godliness with contentment is great gain, the Apostle Paul told his young protege Timothy. For we brought nothing into this world, and it is certain we can carry nothing out. And having food and clothing, with these we shall be content. Ephesus was the chief commercial center of Western Asia Minor, according to Volume 2 of the International Standard Bible Encyclopedia, beginning on page 115. Access to the sea, mountain passes, inland rivers, and the Temple of Diana all contributed to the city's financial vigor. Young Timothy was working in a bustling, wealthy metropolis not unlike 21st century America. Having lived there for 3 years, Paul knew firsthand the dangers faced by the Ephesian brethren. He understood the empty promises of affluence, the anxieties of maintaining social and financial status, and covetous desire to accumulate. He perceived that those who desire to be rich fall into temptation, into a snare, into many senseless and harmful desires that plunge people into ruin and destruction. For the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil. It is through this craving that some have wandered away from the faith and pierced themselves with many pangs, he continues in 1 Timothy 6, verses 9 and 10. Paul thus writes to his young protege that he should flee these things and warn the rich to avoid the snares of materialism. Let's read just a few more verses in 1 Timothy 6, beginning with verse 11, then we'll skip down to verses 17 through 19. But as for you, O man of God, flee these things, pursue righteousness, godliness, faith, love, steadfastness, gentleness. As for the rich in this present age, charge them not to be haughty, nor to set their hopes on the uncertainty of riches, but instead set their hopes on God, who richly provides us with everything to enjoy. The rich are to do good, to be rich in good works, to be generous and ready to share, thus storing up treasure for themselves as a good foundation for the future, so that they may take hold of that which is truly life. A consumer-oriented society is driven by a manufactured compulsion to buy. The consumer must be persuaded to part with his hard-earned money and purchase the produced goods. Well, how do they achieve this? Primarily by fostering discontent in the consumer. Let me say that again. Primarily by fostering discontent in the consumer. What do? We take the old and we sell it, or we throw it away, or we donate it to charity so that we can buy the newer, sleeker, faster, bigger, or prettier one. Happiness is always just over the horizon, just one more Amazon order away. The tangible damage of rampant consumerism is evident in our society. Mountainous debt, marital stress, decreased Lord's Day contributions, and neglected children, just to name a few. But beneath the surface lurks a psychological unease, a restlessness that cannot be calmed, a yearning that cannot be satisfied. Meanwhile, the masses wander through the shopping centers and the malls, through the cruise ships and the streaming services in search of it. But they don't know what it really is. It is a shimmering mirage like rippling heat waves on the highway. No matter how far, how fast you drive, you never seem to catch up to them. But the Bible teaches us, as we've read here in 1 Timothy, that it is contentment. It's an inner peace that cannot be purchased with your Visa or American Express. It is the knowledge that life is being lived in harmony with our Creator. It's the realization that the only treasure worthy of our supreme effort must be stored up in heaven. In the Sermon on the Mount, which we are concurrently studying here on the channel, I'll link the playlist in the description below, or perhaps in the end card of this video. In the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus Christ said this in Matthew 6:19 through 21, "Do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth where moth and rust destroy and where thieves break in and steal, but lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven where neither moth nor rust destroys and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." Such contentedness does not come naturally to most. It must be learned, and it can be learned. Paul shared with the Philippians in chapter 4, verse 11 of that letter, chapter 4, verse 11 of that letter. He said, "Not that I'm speaking of being in need." Why aren't you, Paul? "For I have learned in whatever situation I am to be content." It makes me ask myself, how am I doing? It makes me ask you, how are you doing? How well are you doing at being content? Thank you for watching. I hope that this devotion today has encouraged you to work on your contentment. It can be learned. I was reading some old church bulletins again this week, and I found this article by Jim Jonas, and I saw this photograph of Money to Burn, produced by Mart Production over on Pexels.com. Come back and be with us. We hope to put out a new video in just a couple of days, if the Lord wills. And we hope to see you soon here on Bible Class Topics. Until then, may God bless.